This is Contractor Sense with Ruth King.
Welcome to Contractor Sense. Here you discover ideas, tactics, news, and information that matters to your contracting business and you. I'm your host, Ruth King. This episode is sponsored by Profitability Movement. Google Profitability-Movement to join this community of business owners focused on building profit, increasing wealth, and giving back. Thank you for joining us. Here is how we will help your business and you today. Training is critical. Many contractors have asked, what happens if you train them and they leave? Perhaps the most important question is, what happens if you don't train them and they stay? Training, as we know, is challenging. The traditional classroom will soon be a thing of the past. And of course, there will still be some, but the majority of your employees will want to be trained and will be trained using virtual reality and other new technologies. My guest today, Doug Donovan, CEO of Interplay Learning Technologies, has taken training to a new platform, training your younger employees using the methods that they are familiar with and enjoy. Doug, welcome to Contractor Sense.
Thanks, Ruth. Happy to be here.
Oh, it's my pleasure. And in terms of full disclosure, a lot of my clients are using Interplay, and they're loving it. The guys love to be trained using Oculuses and all the virtual reality things that you guys are doing. So let's talk a little bit about it. How'd you get started doing this?
The old origin story. So we started in energy auditing. I was with another company, and we were training energy auditors. Your audience certainly knows BPI raters and burst raters.
Yep.
And we only had one house to train them in. And as you know, like, combustion safety is a dangerous procedure if you don't do it right. And, you're tightening homes and, carbon monoxide poisoning. And so we were nervous that people were not getting enough repetitions and seeing enough houses to really get good at their trade. And so that was really the genesis of this. When we saw that, we said, well, then how can we possibly get them in 50 houses? Obviously, that's, you can't do that. The unit economics of a training class wouldn't allow for that, yet alone, good luck finding 50 homeowners to let you trudge 12 people through their house.
No kidding. No, not happening.
That's right. So we had, set up a blower door in someone's house. They do not like doing that. But we saw in the military, medical, and aviation industries, they were extensively using simulation for skill development. And they've been, frankly, doing it for decades. And, obviously, they're very well capitalized, right? Lives are at stake. So they would use any means necessary and certainly would invest in things they knew could be effective in training. And so we were surprised when we looked around the trades and saw nobody was really leveraging simulation like those industries were. I mean, it makes some sense. Who's going to write the check, right? There wasn't the Department of Defense of the HVAC industry willing to write that check. But the cost of development, the cost of delivery, all of that was starting to make sense. This was really at the end of 2011 when we originally started this. And so, with that, we started building some training for energy auditors and grew from there and have grown pretty extensively in the HVAC industry.
Yeah, you and I have both had the conversation that, training the old way is probably going to be a thing of the past, because the kids today want to be trained, they've been on an Oculus forever or some sort of virtual reality for forever, and they're not going to sit in a classroom.
Yeah, that's right. And I'd even go further than that and say, if you're not doing a lot of your business digitally, you're going to die, right? Like at some level, and recruiting and training is no different, right? If you get an 18-year-old who has some interest in HVAC and they come in and it feels very, out of date in their training program, they're going to be less likely to stick around. If they're exploring careers and they see something a little more innovative that speaks to them, who they are, it obviously anchors them and says, geez, this may be something I could get into.
Yeah. One of my clients always brings their Oculus with them whenever they do a trade show or a high school career day or something like that says, this is how we train you. And it always gets interest because the kids are going, wow. And all of a sudden they perk up
That's right. Yeah. And not only that, and we, obviously we've been doing this in trade shows and in job fairs for, some of the clients you're talking about or different, schools, et cetera. The other thing that's really interesting, obviously the vehicle to deliver, which is the VR, has some sex appeal. But then when people see it, and often it's projected on a big screen, and they see what the activities are, I mean, diagnostic repair and HVAC is really compelling. I mean, it's got science, it's got it's hands-on, it's got detective work. I mean, it really is interesting. And so when they see that, and that also is really appealing, and that's hard to get from any kind of textbook, or it's hard to really appreciate until you see it in the field. You're not going to get them in the field, so VR is a pretty good approximation.
Yeah, I would agree from there. And it's funny because when you started in 2011, not a whole lot of people knew what VR was. Not a whole lot of people knew what simulation was in our industry.
That's right. And we actually, to be honest, we started the point of view simulations, we call them 3D simulations, are also available on tablets and desktops right through the browser. So a lot of our clients have not adopted the VR yet. I mean, they often buy and say, we're excited to get there, but I just invested in tablets. For my team, they're using it for, whatever, scheduling and invoicing, et cetera. Can they do the simulations on tablets? And we say, absolutely, right? We have apps for both the iPad and Android devices. And that's actually immersive too. When you're sitting there with a tablet, it's you and your point of view, and you're looking at a rooftop unit or an outdoor unit or wherever it is, like, it's incredibly compelling even in that way too. So it's not VR only. I think that's important to communicate, because not every company is ready. But they are ready for the browser base, right? They are ready, we hope, at least. So yeah, we find consumption on all devices.
I will tell you how one of my clients actually is getting them into this. And what they did was they bought 3 Oculuses, and they had their service meeting last week when I was there, and they put the boxing app up on the screen, and they had everybody try it just to get them into it. And oh my gosh, it was an incredible experience for them all, and that got them all excited about doing the training this way. Yeah,
I love it. One thing we've seen, Ruth, that surprised us, it's always fun to build a product and then watch how the customers actually use it, or if they use it in ways you don't anticipate. You think of virtual reality as, really isolated, right? Like it's just you and the computer and you're learning on your own. But what we saw, and this was when we rolled out some content in the solar industry, I was at a solar company, and I walked in and there was a gentleman in VR, on a rooftop doing some solar install simulation. And there was 5 or 6 people standing around that guy. And they were all talking like, hey, don't forget to check for 12 volts that, or don't forget to do this. What I saw was this really powerful social learning impact. And they didn't go to a rooftop, right? They were doing it right in their office. And it was like they took a virtual field trip. So, that kind of social learning is something, that you don't necessarily anticipate either. And we were really pleased and surprised to see it used that way.
Yeah, absolutely. So before we go to break, if somebody's interested in learning more, and we'll talk more about the specific programs after break, but how do they reach you?
Simplest is the website, interplaylearning.com. And there's tons of information there and tons of places to go in terms of getting a demo or talking to a salesperson or whatnot, but you really can get a look at the product there. So just go to the web, interplaylearning.com.
Sounds great. We'll be right back. Thanks for listening to Contractor Sense. You can't. That's what my daughter Kate told me when I said I wanted to make financials fun. The gauntlet was laid down. The red blanket was waved in front of the bowl. Ronan the Rubber Duck was born. This ebook is a whimsical look at financials from a duck's perspective. To get this fun, easy-to-read Kindle book, go to Amazon and search for Ronan the Rubber Duck Dives into Financials. That's RONAN, the Rubber Duck Dives into Financials. Let me know if I made financials fun for you. We're back. Thanks for listening to Contractor Sense. I'm talking with Doug Donovan, CEO of Interplay Learning Technologies, and the website is interplaylearning.com. And I really want to get into some of the actual programs that you're doing. I know we have one called Academy, which is for people who are just entering the industry and who have, for all intents and purposes, no knowledge. But let's talk through some of the programs and how somebody can get involved.
Yeah, so we actually have a pretty massive catalog. I don't even know what the number is now. I think it's like 280 courses. I should be careful about quoting that because sometimes I think I look.
I'm going to hold you to that, Doug. You know that,
projected
right?
courses, and I realize, oh no, that's year end or something. Yeah, you know what? That's what it is. We finished the year 166, 21, and we're going to finish 22 with 260 or 280, I think is the number. And so if you think about that, like, yeah, we are a production machine right now with content, with that hands-on technician in mind the whole time. So the catalog goes beyond HVAC, right? We have a deep plumbing catalog, we have an electrical catalog, we have a facility maintenance and appliance catalog, really building trades. This year we'll add carpentry as well. And so a lot of our clients do cross-training as well. So not only are you doing sort of your classic beginner tech or tech 1, tech 2 level stuff in HVAC, but they might be some of the, more senior tech saying, geez, I want to learn more about plumbing. So they're cross-training into plumbing. Some of the electrical companies cross-train into solar. We do have solar as well. So yeah, the depth of content is pretty significant. I mean, we've been building this content since 2017. So we're 5 years in, and we got a team of about 55 who just show up every day to try to build great learning content for the technicians.
And it's accelerating, which is the fun part, which is absolutely fun. So if you've got somebody who you're bringing into the industry or bringing into the plumbing industry or, electrical or whatever, you can go through a whole series of classes that are devoted to that. And I think if I remember correctly, Academy, you can come out with your EPA certification. Is that correct?
Yeah, that's exactly right. The Academy is slightly different. Most of our customers and most of your listeners probably will buy what we call Skill Mill, which is the subscription as a service platform made for companies, right? It has a whole set of features in terms of managing your technicians, right? You can assign, you can track, you can assess, that type of thing. And you can even compare both your team against other teams, et cetera, or across your team, or identify, look, Sally's struggling in this stuff, Bobby's struggling here. Let's work on remedial training in these areas so you have great visibility. The Academy product's a little different. It sets up a little better for more workforce development or for people who do not have the benefit necessarily of a service manager and a company to rely on. And that's a more prescriptive. That's more like a boot camp. You come in, you take a series of courses. At the end of it, you're going to take both our assessments as well as OSHA 10, EPA 608, and NATE Ready to Work. So, that's how the Academy works. But if you're buying Skill Mill today, which again is where most of your customers are buying it, you actually get things like one EPA exam. The EPA exam, I think, is linked there, but you do have to pay a little extra for it. But their training's already included. But we also have, just last month, we announced NATE Training Academy is now inside of Skill Mill. So if you're trying to keep your techs moving along in their NATE progressions for the CHP5, which is their most recent, career progression certification program, to train for that, the best place to do that is inside of Skill Mill, because we actually partnered with NATE in development of those courses. So you're really going, straight to the horse's mouth, if you will, on when it comes to preparing for those exams. So yeah, the depth is certainly, the depth is there. No one's going to get bored. You can't look at if you're an HVAC company, you can't look at our catalog and say, there's nothing there for us. I mean, it's pretty remarkable what we have currently.
Yeah, it's also not only residential. There's a lot of commercial on there. There's a lot of industrial on there, and it's literally all the trades for all intents and purposes. So don't think that this is just, residential 5-ton units or something like that. It's much more in depth than that. So all of you listening could go and watch it. So what have you seen? I mean, I know you've got tons of stories of people who I would imagine use this surreptitiously to get better as a single person rather than company, correct?
Yeah, that's a good. We call them. We call them. We trying to make it. We trying to make it sound evil, like surreptitious, but we call them.
What else do you call it?
Yeah, like stealthy, right? Yeah, no,
Yeah,
we call them enterprising techs. So
Okay.
what an enterprising tech is yes, that night they're logging in. They bought a single seat, which is I think $349 for access to all of that for all year, and they're in there at night or in their off hours on weekends learning on their own, right? So they show up the next day and they're a little smarter when they get to work. And more often than not, it's somebody who like we say, enterprising tech, somebody who wants to get promoted faster, somebody who may be a little embarrassed to say, hey, I'm not understanding this. So they're doing, sort of self-correction on their own, and they don't want to admit it maybe to their service manager or their boss, or maybe they're just buttressing their knowledge. And so, yeah, we have a good number of those. More often than not, and when I say a good number, it's in the thousands. More often than not, at some point, we will hear from an employer who says, oh, Sally brought this to me, or Jose brought this to me, or Bob brought this to me. She has been using it and speaks highly of it. Can you tell me about this program? So we love to serve the enterprising tech and help them get better at their job, and we're big mission driven, better careers, better lives. But also too, it is a good lead generation for us, because there is no better endorsement than a technician who's getting better, who comes to their service manager or their learning and development manager if they're a larger firm, and says, look, this is what I'm using and I'm enjoying it and it's effective.
Yeah, absolutely. So website again is interplaylearning.com. Any final thoughts, Doug?
No, I would say this: we are always learning here, and we're very attentive to what's next for the industry, right? Like a year and a half ago, we were hearing mini splits. You need mini splits. Now we're hearing more VRF. We need more VRF training. So we start putting that stuff on the catalog. So not only we're committed to delivering this for the long haul in the HVAC industry, and we know we need input from the industry. So for your listeners, wherever they have ideas on what we should building and why and where this industry is going, that's we love that conversation.
Terrific. So Doug, thanks for being with me.
Thank you, Ruth.
And thanks to all of you for joining us. Choose one thing that you discovered and implement it in your business. These ideas, tactics, and strategies help you make more money, have more free time, and give back. If you like today's program, spread the word. Please review this podcast on any device you're listening to it on. Help a fellow contractor make more money too. For comments or questions, call me at 770-729-0258 or email Ruth King at hvacchannel.tv. Thanks for listening. Have a great and profitable day.